You watch him, screamed Courtney Owen. You watch him and you watch him good, William. Her husband, Billy Owen, had his son thrown towards him. Are you fucking kidding me, woman? He complained. You know I gotta work. What are you trying to do to me? I'm trying to fix it so that your son knows who you are, she screamed. She had lipstick on her teeth. Billy couldn't help but notice that. Billy had been longer in Coldford than anticipated. He had told his wife a few weeks initially, months. "My dad," said his 10-year-old son, Richard Ricky Owen, stepping by his side, also looking like he had just received a dressing down from the highly strung mother. Billy tousled his hair. "Hey boy, you boys enjoy, Courtney Bart. I have a hair appointment." Father and son looked to each other. This was going to be interesting. But Billy had work to do. Article 22 was in effect, and he had to find ways of skipping around it to achieve his own objectives and cover his tracks. The fierce judge was pulling no punches, and to cap it all off, Billy was helping to fight against his own father's advances to power on the Owen Inc. board, cleaning his cousin Buddy's mess, and not to mention the issue of disposing of the body of 19-year-old Cameron Doyle, the judge's son. "You look like shit, Dad," Ricky commented, and so they found themselves driving towards Swanton in Billy's white Cooper SUV named Pearl. He looked into the back. His son was staring from the window, bored already without his video game doodads. "So, how's school going?" he asked with genuine fatherly concern. "It's alright," said Ricky. "I got an A in my biology test." "Yeah?" Billy grinned proudly. "Maybe you'll be like a scientist someday, cure the world and shit." Ricky was still watching the world race by from the window. "Maybe," he replied. They rode in silence for a few minutes when Ricky spoke up. "Mom's pissed," he said. Billy prepared to take the exit onto the south bypass. "Yeah, I got that impression," Billy remarked. "Everybody knows women are all batshit crazy, son. You'll learn that with your science. It's like in the DNA or something." When he looked in the rearview mirror, he could see a disgruntled expression on Ricky's face. His arms were folded tightly across his chest. Courtney had taken him to some faggy-ass hairdresser again. The style she had allowed her son to cross the pond with looked like some douchebag boy band singer. No wonder the kid was mad. She might as well have tied his hair in pigtails. Christ almighty, Ricky noticed his dad watching him in the mirror. It then occurred to Billy that he might not be the one that Courtney was mad at. "What did you do?" asked the father. Ricky pouted. "My friends and I broke into the Willis yard. We drank his wine and we put overalls on all his pigs." Billy frowned. "Why?" "It was funny looking. The pigs got out and just about destroyed the orchard." "What did Willis do?" Billy inquired. "He was real mad. He fired his gun. Just a warning like, but we scattered. Thought he was gonna beat on us." "If that hillbilly huckster thinks he can lay a hand on my boy, I'll beat on him," the father assured. "We're living in a world where boys can't be boys anymore. Everything is going to shit. That Willis has been a cranky motherfucker ever since I was your age. You must be old as shit." Ricky laughed a little. "Ancient," he said. "Dirty old fossil." Billy grinned. "You betcha." Ricky turned back to the window again. It didn't help that Bree maxed out another credit card. Mom was so mad. Brianna Bree Owen was Billy's other child. 16-year-old Bree was already creating a reputation for being troublesome. She had her mother's fondness for shiny things, but her father's spirit and ability to make rules more agreeable to her. She took her friends to Lynn for the summer. She's been paying for everything. I put some pants on pigs and I could send over here. "Well, at least you get to spend some time with your old man, right? See me in action?" "Yeah," Ricky replied. "Great." Bree's blatant disregard for her parents worried Billy. It worried him a lot, because in a short year or two she would be heading a Kappa Psi sorority house somewhere. It was all fun and games with the frat bros, but imagining his little girl being among them made his toes icy cold. "Double standards, Dad," is what Bree would say. Billy knew it was, but still. Then there was Ricky. He was a good kid. Better than he and Courtney could ever hope for. He worked hard at school when every distraction, privilege and opportunity gave him reason not to. He had an easy way out, but he never chose to use his family's name to benefit himself. Billy Owen had messes to clean, a job to do, Then he could start looking closer to home. With that in mind, they arrived at the storage unit in Chamberlain Docks. "You wait in the car," the father instructed the son. Beep, 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 beep. Slam. Billy had alighted the vehicle. Ricky unbuckled his seatbelt and turned to look out the back window. He saw his father approach a man wearing a white shirt and a black waistcoat. On the waistcoat was a diamond symbol. They seemed to be arguing a little. Ricky grew disinterested. He pulled the back screen down to find himself something to keep him occupied. "Welcome to Pearl. Choose your media." All that was available was March of Our Times, a terrible soap opera where all the women dressed like his mum and the acting skills rivaled his sisters. "A carrier the size of a coffin?" asked Isaac Bergman. "When you called, I thought you were taking the piss." "I wouldn't have called if it weren't important, brah," said Billy. The Bergman and Owen families weren't exactly close. Howard Bergman, the Diamond Patriarch, was not best pleased when Isaac revealed he had pledged Kappa Sol. "You're a grown man, Isaac," Howard had said to him. "You're smart, focused and capable. I am and always will be proud of you. I just hope you know what you're doing." "I'll be fine, Uncle Howie," said Isaac in response. The reputation of Kappa Sol was no secret. How the Owens felt about the Bergmans was no secret either. Isaac's cousin, Seth, had been at loggerheads with Buddy ever since they were young. They were very different boys. Seth was a buttoned-down, charming head boy of Kingsgate School, and Buddy was a bro. Still, when the time came to pledge, Isaac had his reasons. The Kappa pledge is not one to make lightly because when you're a brother, you were a brother for life. Isaac had met some decent bros through the years, but that Owen influence was always strong in the chapter house. He was a little surprised when he got a call from Billy to help. He hadn't seen fully what he was getting into until he arrived on the scene. "I need a freighter," had been the request. "Fine," Isaac agreed, "but I need the freighter back by 5. With diamond mines as far as Sabala, the Bergmans were a wealthy set. Isaac's share of the family fortune didn't come from diamonds though. Instead, he was given charge of the Diamond Lounge Casino in City, Maine. The Jew boy's family ties in the mining were suiting Billy and his plans. "Let's get this over with," Isaac groaned as he followed Billy inside. "Hey Isaac," Arvid Stoker cheered. "How's it going, mucker?" "What the fuck are they doing here?" Isaac cried. The Berman and the Stoker Circus family had a history between them that stretched back generations. The details of this are not important at this point, dear readers. Suffice to say, if Isaac had known they would have been there, he never would have agreed. Before Isaac could object, he felt a gun at his back. "Take it easy, just take it easy," warned the police commissioner. "You'll come out of this just fine if you do as I say." Alfred sculpted himself around a table with long, tree-like limbs. His twig fingers danced by his side as he watched his son, Freddie, clean the body of a 19-year-old boy. They were both wearing hazmat suits. The Stokers were efficient and discreet. Freddie had come along for the ride. The Stokers had their way of being so low-key they were often forgotten about, despite being part of Kappa Sol since the days of its founding by Henry Hen Owen. It had been Harger Stoker who had witnessed the opening of Hen's chapter house in Coldford. Freddie pulled the hat off his suit, revealing the grown brown hair, the same bug-like eyes as his father. "Our boy all cleaned up?" asked the police commissioner. "As clean as a whistle, Mr. Owen," Freddie replied. He had a soft-spoken voice that sounded quite chilling given the circumstances. "The transport has been fitted with a plastic sheet. When you're done, run the sheet into a well-used oil drum. Oily surfaces are virtually impossible to grab prints from. If it's one that hundreds of people have access to, then that's even better. Then you're going to want to gather all of the meltdown and discard it into the sea as far out as you can. We're adding to the pollution problem, but if they happen to find those fragments way down, they sure as hell aren't going to get anything from them." Billy clapped Freddie on the shoulder. "I forgot what a weird little man you are," he remarked in jest. "Is that Cameron Doyle?" Isaac cried. "What did you do?" "We're just wanting to use your freighter," Billy said impatiently. "Stop being such a fucking Jew." Freddie Stoker held up his gloves. "Gloves, please," he said. "We've just finished cleaning. and we don't want prints all over the body. Between the father and son stokers, Cameron's body was wrapped in a plastic sheet and hoisted into a secure transporter generally used for precious diamonds. He was just a kid, Isaac cried. What the fuck did you do to him? Billy pressed the gun into Isaac's back. It's none of your goddamn business. You're brought for life, so you're helping your brother out. You don't ask questions. He's gonna get cold feet, Irvin warned, referring to Isaac. Fuck you, Isaac spat at him. We're gonna use the freighter. You're gonna keep your mouth shut. If you don't, you'll find yourself under arrest for the murder of Cameron Doyle. No one would believe that, Isaac protested. Billy grinned. Maybe not, but that's what all the evidence would say. Just keep your mouth shut, he warned again. Meanwhile, in the car, Ricky's viewing was interrupted by a call from Owen Estate. Ricky answered and was faced with Charles Chick Owen. Hello, young man, said the Owen Inc. CEO. I wasn't expecting this pleasure. Ricky grinned. Hi, sir. I'm with my dad right now. Meanwhile, the Stokers and Billy bore the weight of Cameron Doyle, both physically and legally. They pulled the diamond container towards the docks. I'll put the container through the shredder once we're done, offered Irvin. The shredder was a huge industrial machine used to chew up car wrecks and rubble of arson investigations. The Stokers affectionately called her Guzzle. It was a stage name used by one of their old freak show performers. Her act had been that she could chew through anything. She claimed to have teeth of steel made in the Orient. For the industrial Guzzle, that was very much true. I need that container back, Isaac was protesting. My uncle can't have anything to do with this. Back in the car, Ricky was retelling the story of the pigs to Chick. Chick was laughing, but he warned him. You mind your manners now with Mr. Willis. He's an old-timer, and he can't take much messing with these days. I will, Ricky agreed, with his head lowered. I got an A in biology, he announced proudly. Well, look at that, the Cappy sighed. You're already on the fast track to doing the family proud. You stick in now. One day you'll be a great man like your daddy. Oh, this motherfucker weighs a ton, complained Billy outside. Irvin Stoker was forced to stop for a breath. He wiped beads of sweat from his forehead with the back of his hand. You say I was on the boat? You tell him to get his goddamn lazy ass down here and help us, Billy ordered. As a small crew gathered at the freighter to help carry the body of Cameron Doyle to its next destination, Ricky was continuing to talk to the Cappy. I hear you're in trouble, the boy put to the CEO. Grandpa says you ain't got long. The Cappy smiled, despite the rumours that his cousin, Jackson, had been spreading around the Owen Inc. board of incompetency. I've been having a bit of a time trying to keep things in order, but it's nothing for you to worry about. Buddy fucking up again? Ricky asked. It was no secret to the family that Chick's son was a bit of a train wreck, for the most part, but with people like your daddy to help me, I'm managing just fine. Oh, what have you got now? A fucking elephant? You shooting elephants again, Bill? Ira Stoker had said. Ira was another bug-eyed, curly-haired Stoker cousin. He worked outside his circus season as a crime scene photographer, so he was especially good at detecting anything that had been missed. Mind your business, Billy urged. Less you know, the happier you'll be. They didn't have much time, so together they carried the remains to the grey freighter with the diamond logo on the side. Is Article 22 worrying you? Ricky asked the Cappy. You're a good boy. A mature one. You talk more sense than most of your cousins, so I won't lie to you or glitter the truth. There will come a point when I will have to sit in the naughty step for a while. Yes, I am worried, but whilst I sit in that position, you can be rest assured that I won't go down without a fight. We are owns, and that means something. Ricky smiled. It's because our name is ancient like Mr. Willis. The Cappy chuckled. That's right. Sometimes that means offering respect. Sometimes it means dressing hogs, but no matter what, we got each other. You tell your daddy to call me. You come visit me real soon. There is a shitstorm coming your way, Billy, said Isaac as they stood on their docks watching the freighter head to an abandoned half-field bay mine. Shut your mouth, Billy said. You say nothing of this and you'll be fine. Freddie Stoker pulled his gloves off. Clothes you're wearing need to be washed at 90 degrees. That includes underwear, just to be safe. Shower in as hot a temperature as you can stand, then bleach the tub and drain as thoroughly as you can. The wrinkles in Billy's forehead deepened as he looked to Freddie, shorter than the rest, his personality a little bit off. "Get a hold of your boy there, Stoker," he said. "He's giving me the willies." Irvin laughed. Freddie did too. "I've got to go," Isaac said, now feeling a little sick. "Remember, you keep your mouth shut and we'll all be living happy lives," were Billy's parting words to him. "He's not going to stay quiet. He's going to chew us out," Irvin had warned him. "Then shut him up," said Billy. "I've already planted evidence," said Freddie. "If you try to tell someone, we pull the plug." As Isaac drove back to his home in Kingsgate, he had to pull off the road. His hands had been shaking so bad he could barely control his car. He knew Cameron well. Karen Doyle was a friend of his uncle's. His own mother was a high-ranking lawmaker who was in Doyle's confidence. "What the fuck am I going to do?" Isaac wondered to himself. He couldn't just sit by the side of the road forever. The freighter made its way to a small island inlet, just off the coast of Hatfield Bay. There were no inhabitants there, and the Bergman mine was out of commission. Cameron's body was out of sight, and out of the city for now. Until such times as it was safe for the proper disposal of the body, the son of the most ferocious judge in Coldford history would lie in an abandoned diamond mine. It wasn't a definite solution, but it offered Billy the chance to move on to his next task. The Falls Park building welcomed home one of its princes. Since the death of Reginald, it had been a sombre place. The staff did all they could to comfort the widow, but it still pained them that the family they served would be subjected to such grief. So, when they learned that Reginald Penn Jr. was being returned to them, they rejoiced. The rejoice was short-lived, because when what they saw as the prince was brought to the steps of the Falls building, they found that the prince wasn't a prince at all. It was a beaten boy, with sunken eyes, matted hair, and a gait in his walk he hadn't had when he had left them. "Reggie!" Mrs. Gardner, the cook, cried onto Mr. Bolton's shoulder. Mr. Bolton, Reginald's driver and boyhood confidant, patted Mrs. Gardner's back with a comforting hand. "He's a strong boy, just like his father," he said, almost weeping to himself. "He'll be okay." Rita hugged her baby as tightly as she could without hurting him. She didn't like how he limped. She didn't like how he grimaced whenever he tried to sit. He paced the room a lot, the way an animal in captivity would. And even back in the comfort of home, safe from the Capital brothers who had tortured him, he still wouldn't speak. I had gone myself to speak to the Penn triplet. After everything he had gone through, he had a unique perspective on just how far people in the shady city would go to protect their own gains. "Can you tell me anything about what happened to you?" I asked. Reggie was seated on a sofa in the main apartment of the Falls Park building. He was looking at me. He seemed receptive enough, but his expression didn't change. "I really appreciate you trying to get through to him, Sam," said Rita, "but I think he should just rest." She was holding a bowl of cream corn cereal. She said it was her son's favourite. It was the only thing he would eat, and even at that, he would have to have it fed to him. "If you do want to speak, Reggie, I'm a reporter," I explained to him. "I'm on no one's side. I make no judgment. I'm just telling the story." Reggie's eyeballs moved up to me. It did look as though he had something to say, but before he could utter any words, he spied the cream corn cereal and fell vacant again. "Here you are, baby," said Rita. It was no use. The one man who had a tale to tell had retreated to the top of his tower, became tight-lipped, and would rather be spoon-fed cereal from his mother than speak to a reporter. I admit I felt a little disgruntled as I left Falls Tower building that afternoon. I had hoped that when the third triplet, the youngest, the baby, was given back to his natural habitat, he would have much to say. However, it seemed that I wasn't the only one that hoped he would stay quiet. The Falls building was immense, but if someone was so determined to reach him, they would. Gunfire would crack, and dear readers, as I have said before, an Owen never misses a target. Rita Penn had spent the afternoon watching the serial show March of Our Times. It was her guilty pleasure, but her sons claimed to have hated it. It's a heap of shit, Simon had protested. Its trashy plots with lousy acting had been Marcus's sentiment. Reggie watched it with her though. He said he was just wanting to keep his mother company, but Rita suspected the subpar acting and the rushed storylines were just what Reggie enjoyed. He could protest that he never really paid that much attention, but he had shed a tear when Mercedes finally left Hank. She had been through so much. Chance's trying to start a new business. Rita was catching her son up. Actor Lawrence DeBoer had presented his character as the perfect villain to counteract Chance's plans, and in true soap opera fashion, dead puppies, an explosion at a warehouse and a secret marriage intervened. Reggie failed to react. She just wished that something would stir in him. She couldn't blame him, given everything he had faced. She stroked his curls, clean and tended now, and kissed his head. "You rest, baby," she said. "Been through so much." She stood and wandered towards the window. "It's a beautiful day outside," commented the mother. "Maybe we can take a walk in the park." Whack, 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 whack. "Told the news helicopters to back off," Rita stated, disgruntled. She had informed the press through her own sources that Reggie would be not giving any statements at this time, and given the circus that the city was beginning to become, she requested that he be left alone to recover. What Rita didn't seem to realise, perhaps a little naively, was that if she asked the press to step back, they would. Whack, 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 whack. The helicopter drew closer, dancing around the height of Fald's building like a mating ritual. "Reggie," Rita put to her son, "there's a man hanging out of that helicopter." Reggie looked up. "Mother!" he protested. Bang! The blast sent Rita falling to the floor. Like her husband, a bullet had taken her between the eyes. Clutching onto the helicopter door, Billy Owen dropped his gun by his side. "By Knowles, when you use cheap window cleaner, you're gonna get streaks! Clean your goddamn windows, bitch!" He chuckled. He banged his fist against the metal of the chopper to alert his old special ops cohort. They pulled away. 2 pens down. 3 to go. By the time I arrived at Fald's building with Lydia, Reggie was gone. He had disappeared, but not before he had pulled a sheet over the body of his mother. The elusive triplet wasn't seen leaving on the CCTV footage, but he did boast a whole host of hidey holes that would allow him to come and go with ease. Billy Owen had seen some tough campaigns. He had been to northern Subala. He had been to Levenkrantz during the bomb blitz. He had gutted men and hung women and children. He had a lot to answer for, but until such times as there was proof, he, like the rest of his family, would walk free, adding Rita to his body count. Reggie Penn was on the loose again. Billy groaned to himself. He really was like a fucking rat. Those bastards were tough to kill. He was confident enough that he would catch up with them eventually. In the meantime, he had taken out all the ones from the compound who might have had something to say. The rat had scurried into a hole somewhere, probably eating his own shit. It wasn't Billy's problem for now. The minute he peeked his nose out again, and those little whiskers started to twitch, blam! He would be sorry he ever tried to run. Problems, problems, problems. When the cappy called him from the Great States for service to the family, he had warned him that there was a river of piss to wade through. A lot of it belonged to that dumbass Buddy. Much of it was fallout from the cherry popper Jerry. Now that Billy was cleaning up all them messes, more were starting to crop up. It was no wonder the place was all going to the dogs. It seemed everywhere you turned, some bitch's son was looking to stir shit. Notice to Police Commissioner. Representatives of Church of St Wigan have lodged complaints that their rights to free speech are being infringed by officers of CPD. Please advise from the Office of Lawmakers. Billy read the notice again, running his finger along the words and mouthing each syllable carefully. Then he grinned. He and his officers had been chasing and beating some of those monks now for weeks, but it seemed they weren't getting the damn message. They kept coming back. Now, not only did he have the rat, he had those fucking religious nuts ringing their damn bells all over the city. When were they going to get the message they weren't welcome? The body of Cameron was hidden. The stage was set for when the Jew boy was squealing to his mama. The rat boy was hidden away. Billy had eyes everywhere waiting for him to surface again. Buddy was staying out of trouble. For now. It was all taken care of. Now what? Billy read the notice again. If those Wigan preachers weren't getting his message, he was going to have to step it up. Trying to convince everybody to find religion, that shit should be illegal. Rights to free speech? Commissioner Billy Owen would see about that. He was pissed off and fixing to take it out on someone. He was sick and tired of them yelling at him as he walked the city main. You cannot be saved! What did that even mean? Shit. They shouldn't go around preaching like that. It was confusing the youngins. It was dangerous. That shit had to be stopped and Billy was the man to do it. But first... Billy answered his phone on the third ring. Yeah, Bud. Bill? Buddy asked nervously. You better be staying out of trouble, boy, Billy said. I am, man. I am. I was just wondering, if I were to have just like a little gram of powder, you know, just to take the edge off. Buddy, Billy barked. No powder. If I come down there and find you boys are higher on anything than sugar, I'm going to beat all your asses. Am I clear? Yeah, I'm just wondering. I just wanted to know what the lines were. What the rules were. Feeling a little sick today, bro. You feel better soon, said Billy. Everybody knows that powder shit makes you limp dick. You want to be limp dick? But he must have thought about it. Chad, he cried. Put the turkey baster back. At that, Buddy rang off. Billy shook his head. Jackass, he muttered to himself. His little bro wasn't so bad, really. He just needed straightened out. Complaints lodged. Free speech. It was time to go divine on someone's ass. You cannot be saved! Cries were ringing out across the city. But repent and you'll be in his embrace! They were the children of St Wigan. They had a varied following over the years. They were a religious sect based on Hatfield Bay Island, and they have featured in many of my observations over the years. Some notable members of the church include Dolores McKinney, grandmother of the Boss Lady, Nan Harvester, mother of Julia Harvester, and Gerald Jerry Owen, who was one of their priests. Each of these people, for their own reasons, were united under one saint. They called Noah Wigan the patron saint of sinners, for it was said that he had walked the fires of hell to welcome the damned into his embrace. Olivia Hicks had also been a member of the church, but had since taken a step back when she saw how intent they had become in their mission to cleanse the city. Coldford was filthy, so it was going to take a hellfire to burn through the dirt. At least that was what Wigan had said. I will not detract with the details of the stress the Church of St Wigan had placed on the city. It is suffice to say that their numbers were booming. Their reach from the bay was spreading further and further in mainland, and now wherever you walked in the streets of Coldford someone was crying out, "You cannot be saved!" The sound of the bell ringing was starting to get on Billy Owen's last nerve. I am sick and tired of hearing those preachers, he groaned. Everybody knows there's no such thing as a God or any of that shit. We're born, we die, that's it. Did you know you can't be saved? Wigan monk Isaiah was asking those who passed him as he stood outside the gates of Pettiwick School in Filton. It was the meeting of the PTA that night, so the snobbish parents of the little Filton darlings were arriving in their droves. When your little bundle of joy was going to grow up to rule the world, you had to take an interest in the institute that was going to show them how. You cannot be saved, Isaiah cried as they passed him. He rang his bell as though he was predicting the end of the world. Ding, 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 ding. Most of the snobbish parents just snorted down their well-powdered noses at him, but there were some who stopped to listen to what he had to say. There is still hope, he told them with joy. If you repent, St Wigan will rescue you. He embraces all sinners and guides them to the light of salvation. He had managed to fill his sheets with numbers and details of some folks who wanted to hear more from the church. You sound like you're predicting the end of the world, one of the women had stated, as she and her fellow Pettiwick parent approached him. It sounds ominous, said Isaiah, but I have the pleasure to bring you the truth. The truth is, if you accept the most holy of saints, Wigan, into your life, you may reach paradise. St Wigan loves the sinners. He wants to bring them back from the brink. It's not too late. Listen to him and his disciples. Let Bartholomew carry you forward. Fear Michael, should you stray from the path. The women were quite impressed. They signed up eventually. They were each given a book so that they could learn more about what their salvation would entail. Isaiah could hear the words of praise from his church leader as he saw his good work. "I'm proud of you, Isaiah," His Eminence would say. "It's not an easy truth for people to hear, but it's our job to make them listen." Isaiah had sheets of sign-ups. He spent time chatting with Pettywig parents. Most of them were quite accepting. Some of them had been combative. That was expected when you were telling someone a truth they really didn't want to hear. It had been quite a glorious day. Praise Wigan. No one could be saved, and it seemed the posh part of the city was starting to learn that. Salinger, Weir, and Fullerton were just some of the filthy notable names that he had on his sheet. It was a good day, but it wasn't over. He had to show his dedication. He pulled his robes tighter round him and sat on the ground outside the school and prepared for the long night chill. When it reached the early hours, Isaiah was stirred by a flood like a beam from the Almighty. It was accompanied by a whack of helicopter blades. "Good morning," someone called over a megaphone. "You want to ride home?" CPD under Billy Owen's commissionership weren't exactly friends of the church. "It's all bullshit," Billy maintained as he and Irvin Stoker sat on the helicopter. Whipper's blades whacked heavily through the quiet night air as the Coldford eased its way through the early hours. "It's all bullshit, ain't that right?" Billy put to the Wigan monk who sat, shaking between Billy and Irvin. Isaiah had quite a crowd gathered round him to listen to what he had to say. If he hadn't drawn so much interest, Billy may have just left him alone. But he had generated quite a gathering to listen to his BS, so Billy decided to intervene. "Disturbing the peace," Billy had said. "Book 'em." Now Isaiah was praying harder than ever. He had never been on a helicopter before, and he wasn't much enjoying the height. Knowing this, Billy pushed him against the window. "Look at that drop," he teased as they passed over the sea. Irvin laughed as the monk fell back into his arms. "Easy there, mucker," he said, the circus man. The shore of Halffield Bay approached. The island was in slumber. There wasn't a single light on in any of the houses dotted along the dunes. The Wigan commune began to emerge from the sands. Billy leaned out and took a look. "Circle round the church," Billy ordered the pilot. "I'm going to drop this guy off." Whipper pivoted her body and made her way to the ancient structure of the church. Irvin managed to keep his balance as the helicopter turned. Billy gripped a bar. They both chuckled as the monk stumbled forward. "Almost home, boy," Billy said as Whipper fell to a steady hover miles above the church on the hill. "One last chance. Admit it's all bullshit." "I have faith," Isaiah maintained. "I got faith," Billy replied, removing his gun and pointing it at the monk. "I got faith that I can put a bullet in your head and your saint ain't gonna do jack shit about it." Isaiah whimpered, but he said nothing. "Admit there's no God and I'll drop you home all nice like." Isaiah shook his head. Billy cocked his gun. "Say it," he teased. "Admit there's no God and Wigan sucks cock." "Just let me go," Isaiah said as Irvin pushed him towards the door. "Boy, not until you admit it." "There's no God," Isaiah cried. "Just let me go." "And Wigan?" "Wigan is a cocksucker," Isaiah sobbed. "Please, just let me go." Billy shook his head. "Jeez," Billy said. "I know y'all are faggots, but to abandon your beliefs like that, that's some real sad shit. I can't even look at you. Stoker, see him out, would you?" Irvin Stoker encased the monk in his long limbs, like the four legs of a praying mantis. The door was opened. "Let's see if Wigan catches your ass," Billy laughed. "Bye, mucker," said Irvin. Isaiah was thrown from Whipper's hold. Both Billy and Irvin leaned out to watch him fall. It took 10 seconds of shrill shrieking for the monk to finally hit the dune. "Woo-hoo!" Billy cheered. "Preaching my city again, faggots, and I'm just gonna have to keep bringing y'all asses back here," he laughed. The helicopter turned and made its way back to the city. When the body was discovered the following day, there was a CPD booking notice for disturbing the peace in his pocket. Billy Owen, in true Owen fashion, was taking care of business.